Hey, how's it going guys? My name is Dom and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to build a memory game using the JavaScript DOM. Now all of the source code is going to be linked down below if you want to follow along while you watch today's video. Now the memory game is going to look something like this. We've got a grid of 16 tiles, and if I was to click on a tile, for example, then click somewhere else, it's going to reveal if it is a match or not a match. I'm sure you guys have used a memory game or at least played a memory game before, so you probably know how this works. Now it is very straightforward and it also lets you extend upon it if you wish to. So let's go inside this tab right here and begin from scratch to create what I just showed you. So going inside VS Code, I've got this index.html right here. So we're going to begin by creating the CSS and JavaScript file required for this memory game. So let's go inside the sidebar right here and make a new file called main.css, and the same goes for JavaScript main.js. Now, to include these files in the index.html, of course, going to go inside the head here and make a new link for CSS going to main.css, and the same thing for JavaScript source right down below going to main.js. Now, I'm also going to use the defer attribute. This here means that the script is going to load alongside the page, but more importantly, it's only going to execute once the document is loaded, which means you're going to avoid running into errors such as elements not found. Cool. So going inside the HTML, let's begin inside here before going on to the CSS and then lastly the JavaScript. So when it comes to the HTML, we're going to have a div called, or a div with a class of tiles, and inside this div it's going to contain every single tile. In our case it's going to be 16. Now if we go inside here, we can make a new div called just tile to represent a single tile. Now instead of duplicating this 16 times, we are going to use JavaScript to generate these tiles, and that is a big part of using the JavaScript DOM for this game right here. But just for now, to see some results in CSS, we're going to duplicate this between 4 to 8 times. So I've got this tile 7 times right here, or 6 times right here. So you can go ahead and make 6 tiles just like that. And then we're done in the HTML. We can move on to the CSS. So when it comes to the CSS for the tile, we're going to begin by targeting the body and giving this a background of 333 or dark gray. We're going to also give this a margin of 0. I'm going to save this, go back in the browser here, refresh on the page, and we get something like this. We can see, of course, the CSS style sheet is loaded and we're ready to go. So we've got that background color right there. Let's go back inside VS Code here and target the class of tiles. Now, of course, tiles refers to the parent tiles container, that one right there. So to target that class, going to give this a margin of 48 pixels top and bottom and auto left and right. Now, this auto combined with a width of max content is going to center the tile container, just like we saw in the first example right here. Let's also give this a display of grid. We're going to be utilizing CSS3 grids here to give us that grid of 16 tiles, alongside a grid template columns of repeat 4 at 100 pixels. So create 4 columns 100 pixels wide. Let's also give this a gap of 16 px between every single tile, and we're done with that. We'll save this, go back in the browser here, refresh, and we see no results. In order to see some results here, we need to style up the tiles themselves, the individual tiles. Let's go down here. We're going to say tile and give this a height of 100 pixels, the same amount that was used for the column width, alongside a background of a darker gray of 111, a border of 5 pixels solid, and then a medium gray at 444, and a cursor of pointer. Save this back in the browser, refresh here, and we finally get some results. So we can see here, upon inspecting, we've got the grid working, that 100 pixel wide 4 column layout. And of course, it is also centered in the page using that margin of 48px and then auto. So we're done with all of the HTML and the CSS. We can now finally move on to the main part, of course, the JavaScript. Now, before moving on to the JavaScript, I just want to go back inside the index HTML and remove all of the tiles which we used just to see what it looks like in CSS. So we'll get rid of these right here. And now we're going to be using the JavaScript DOM to build each one of those individual tile elements. So going inside the main.js here, we're going to begin by defining a few constants and variables. So let's make a new constant right up here called tiles container. This here is going to refer to the tiles container div. We can say document.query selector, then pass in here a class of tiles, of course, referring to the div just like that because the classes match, okay? Now that is the first constant. We can also create a new constant called colors equal to an array of possible colors because we're going to be using colors to match on the memory game. So I'm just going to copy and paste a list of colors here. You can pause the video if you wish to get a screenshot of these colors, or you can download the code down below in order to, of course, gain access to this list of colors if you don't feel like typing it out. But these are just CSS compatible colors which will be used for the game. Now, keep in mind that you can, of course, pass in hex colors here. You can pass in red, yellow, green, whatever you like, right? But also keep in mind that this is only every possible color. It is not two of each color. So when we're building up the list of tiles, we need to display each color twice, but this array only contains a single instance of each color. So to create that array of duplicate colors, we can use the spread operator. Let's say const colors pick list equal to, inside here now using the array notation, we can say ... colors, comma ... colors. So now colors pick list is a new array containing two of the colors array. Okay, I want to just stop here and console.log the colors pick list. Okay, I'll save this, go back in the browser here, refresh, open up the DevTools, and we see we get an error. Let's go back and figure out what that is. Okay, I've got a / at the end here, my mistake, I'll get rid of that. I'll save it, go back in the browser again, refresh, and in the console, we've got every single color specified twice. We've got aqua through to teal, then again, aqua through to teal. So we have these 16 different array elements here, and this is going to allow us, like I said earlier, to loop over them and display them in the grid. Let's also get a reference to the number of tiles we have. It's going to be called tile count as this constant equal to colors pick list.length. We're going to need the number of tiles in a constant in order to effectively give us a loop, which we're going to see very shortly. Now, let's also create 3 variables which indicate the current state of the game. So picture now that we are playing the game, okay? So let's put a comment to say game state. Now, the first variable to be updated as the game goes through is the number of tiles that have been revealed. How many tiles has the user gotten correct, okay? We can say revealed count equal to 0. We're going to start with 0 tiles revealed. Makes sense, right? We're going to also say let active tile equal to null. Now here, the active tile refers to the tile which the user has just clicked on and they're now looking for the next tile to match. That is the active tile, and it actually is going to refer to the div itself. Okay, so more on this stuff later on. Okay, and the last one here is going to be let awaiting end of move equal to false. Now, when awaiting end of move is set to true, which we're going to be doing later on, that means that the user is waiting for the 2 unmatched tiles to be turned over again. So if I was to get a tile wrong here, just like that, we can see during that 1 second right there, that is awaiting end of move set to true. Okay, so those are all of our constants and our variables for the memory game. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here, Going to hop down below, and we're now going to build up the tiles because of course now we have nothing on the page. So let's use these colors here and render out some tiles. And this right here is core when it comes to the JavaScript DOM. So let's say here, build up tiles. Now it's going to be a for loop. We're going to say for let I equal to 0. Then we're going to say I less than tile count. In our case here, tile count refers to 16. We can say I++ to begin this loop. Now, the first thing to do inside this loop is going to be to get a random index for the colors pick list array. Let's pick a random color to display display inside the tile, right? So we'll say here const random index equal to math.floor, then say math.random times colors pick list dot length. And this line of code right here, I'm sure you may have seen it before, but essentially it just picks a random index inside the colors pick list array between 0 and 15 inclusive. Once we've got that random index, we're going to get the color from that index. We'll say const color equal to, then say colors pick list, then at the index of random index, just like that. Okay. Now I'm going to say console.log and then type in color here. I'll save this, go back in the browser, refresh here, and we can see we get all of the colors in a random order, just like that. I'll do it again, refresh, and they're all different. So we've got that randomness working. Now the issue is, once I've chosen a color, I don't want to choose the same color again, unless of course it is a duplicate. But in other words, I only want to pick the same color twice. So every time we choose a color out of the colors pick list, we then want to remove that possibility. So down here, we're going to say colors pick list dot splice at the random index, then at the random index, then a number of 1. So 1 means to remove a single element at the random index. So if I save this now, go back in the browser, refresh here, now we only get unique, or at least a maximum of 2 per color right here. Okay, cool. This right here is our foundation now for, of course, building up those tiles. So how do we go about creating those tile elements? Well, we can define a new method called build tile. Now I meant function, so a new function called build tile. This function is going to take in a color, one of these ones right up here. Now, the intention of this function is to build a new tile element and then return it to the loop right down here. So inside this function, let's firstly create a div using JavaScript. We'll say const element equal to document.createElements, then pass through here a div. All right. Now, as you saw earlier, we've got a class of tile to be assigned to every single tile. So let's go back inside here. We're going to say element.classList.add, then pass through here tile. The class list property allows you to interact with the list of classes on an element, and we're calling .add to, of course, add the tile class. Now, we're also going to set a data attribute on each tile. This lets us record miscellaneous information that we might need for our application. In our case, of course, a memory game. So we're going to say element.setAttribute. We're going to say here data-color. Okay. Then inside here, we're going to say color. So set the data-color attribute on the element to be whatever color that we pass in. I'll show you what this looks like very shortly. But for now, we're also going to just return here the element. So got this function. We can now use it 16 times inside our loop. Let's hop back down here. We're going to say const tile equal to, then pass through here, build tile, and pass in the color chosen just like that. And then right down below here, we're going to say documents.body.append child and append the tile to the DOM. Of course, calling append child on the body is going to add this element to the body tag in the HTML. So I'll save this, go back in the browser, refresh, and there we go. We have a bunch of things on the screen. Now, of course, this right here is incorrect because I appended it to the body and not the container. Let's inspect the element section in the Chrome DevTools here. And we can see, of course, we get the tiles container, then every single tile under that 16 times. So let's actually put these inside the div instead. And that right there is what we actually need to do. So let's go back inside here and right down below, instead of saying document.body, we're going to say tiles container.append child. So now the parent is the container instead of the actual body. Let's save this, go back in the browser, refresh, and now we have our intended result. We've got those 16 tiles appended to the tiles container. Now, we can see here the class of tile has been applied due to our class list line, and the data-color is set to the color which we want this tile to be. So that's working beautifully. And we're going to see why this data attribute is important very shortly as we reach the end of this video. But for now, we've basically got our foundations ready to now implement some business logic. So how is this going to work? Well, we want something to happen when the user clicks on a tile. We want to actually reveal that color. So let's go back inside here. And we're going to say in the build tile function, elements.addEventListener, we're going to listen for the click event. So when a user clicks on a tile, the first thing you may want to do is reveal the color to the user. And that would be correct in many situations, but we do need to put a few checks in place before we immediately reveal the color. For example, if the user just got a match wrong, we don't want to let them reveal other things in between that small window. So let's go back in the browser here, back to the example. If I get these two wrong, during that time period right there, I can't choose anything else. So we don't want to just immediately reveal when you click on this. So let's first say if awaiting end of move, then return. So return means that we're going to exit the function right here and don't move on to anything down here. Just basically cancel bang at this line, okay? And that's going to prevent anything from happening. Now, also keep in mind that awaiting end of move refers to that small window that I just showed you where the user is awaiting that second for the two incorrect matches to be converted back to a black color, okay? So we've got that check in place. Let's now say, okay, cool, no worries, we're not awaiting end of move, so let's reveal that color. We're going to say element.style.background color is, oops, my mistake, background color is equal to, then pass through here the color. So applying inline CSS right here to that individual tile or element. I'll save this, go back in the browser, refresh, click on these tiles, and they are now getting revealed. Okay, so that is our first step right there. We are now going to perform a bit of logic. We're going to say, okay, no worries. So we've selected a tile. The user has clicked that tile and it is now being revealed. We're now going to say, okay, if there is no active tile at the moment, we're going to say active tile is equal to the current tile. So active tile equals the element, okay? So now, if I was to console.log the active tile after doing this, I'll go back in the browser, refresh, click on this one right here. Active tile refers to that element right there. If I click again, it still refers to that one right there. So that's important, okay? When I click on the second one, the active tile is still the first one I selected. And that is important because we need to use that active tile to check if those colors match. Now, because there is no restriction on the amount of tiles you can click, I can keep going, okay, and it's still going to be that same tile. So we need to, of course, fix that, and we can do that right now. So let's go back in here, okay? In this case, we've assigned that active tile. We also want to return here to cancel the entire function once again, because once you've got an active tile, that is the end of that move. You now need to choose a second tile to see if they match, right? So I'm going to cancel right there, okay? And now if we reach down here on this line, we now know that we're not awaiting end of move and there is no active tile, or sorry, my mistake, there is an active tile. So I'll start again. We are not awaiting end of move and there's an active tile. So this tile I just clicked on must be the one to attempt to match against. So before we get to matching, let's assume that the user has chose an incorrect tile. In this case here, we need to say awaiting end of move equal to true. So let's prevent any further tiles from being clicked on. All right. Then we're going to say set timeout. Going to put a function inside here. We're going to say after 1 second. Okay. After 1 second, we want to hide those tiles once again. So we're going to say element dot style dot background color is equal to null. So clearing that inline style. And the same goes for the active tile, because like I said before, if you reach down here, you've got an active tile, you've also got the tile which you just clicked on. So you've got those two tiles, right? So we're going to clear them both. I'll save this, go back in the browser here, refresh, click on this tile, then click on this tile. 1 second later, they go away. Now, I cannot continue. If I try again, nothing works because those variables are still set. Let's clear them out. We're going to say awaiting end of move equal to false. So we're going to start again. And same goes for the active tile equal to null. Let's clear out that active tile. Save this back in the browser, refresh, click here, click here. Okay, fair enough, it goes away. Click here, it goes away. Click here. They match, but they still go away. So we now need to implement the matching logic. Let's go back inside here. Between the active tile check and the awaiting end of move, let's check for a match. Okay, so we'll reach down here. We're going to say const color to match equal to active tile dot get attribute. Remember, the active tile refers to the first tile which the user clicked on in this move. Okay, let's get the data attribute for color. And this is why it was important to include the data attribute right up there. Now, ignore this line. That was a mistake. I'll come back to that later on. Okay, so you should see only a single data color right here. Apologies. But that's why it's important to have the data dash color. So we've set that color. Let's now get the attribute right here, okay, and check if those colors match. We'll say here, if color to match is equal to the color, okay? If that's the case, both tiles match, which means we can now say active tile equal to null and awaiting end of move equal to false, okay? Just like we did right down here. I'll swap these around for consistency. There we go. We're also going to update the revealed count. We can say revealed count plus equals 2 to add 2 to our number of revealed tiles. We're going to use this variable later on to check if we are, if the game is completed. In fact, we'll do that right now. Let's say here, if revealed count is equal to the tile count of 16, we can alert and say you win, refresh to play again. Okay, something like that. And we also want to return here. So there's quite a bit going on in this block of code. Okay, we're checking if the colors match. All right, if they do, we're going to clear out the game state. we're going to say revealed count plus 2. Then if the revealed count is equal to the tile count, then we know the user is done. So we should see here, of course, that message. Then they need to refresh to play again. So I'll save this, go back in the browser, refresh here, click on this. Not a match, fair enough. I'll keep going till I get a match, hopefully sometime soon. There we go, and it stays there. I can go again, and it works just like that. Now, there is a problem or two with this situation. So the first problem is, if I was to click on one of these revealed ones, that right there is now my active tile. If I click again, they don't match, so it goes away. Okay, so that's a bug, right? So to fix that, we need to say, okay, cool. If you want to click on a tile that has already been revealed, then we need to cancel that move. So this can be achieved using another data attribute. We're going to say up inside the build tile, we're going to put back that data-reveal that I was accidentally showed you earlier. Okay, so we're going to say element.setAttribute data-revealed equal to false. So when a tile is first being created, we want to say that the tile is currently not revealed. Okay. Now, once you have got the match, we need to then update that attribute to say revealed equal to true. So down here, we're going to say active tile.setAttribute data-revealed. There we go, equal to true. And the same goes for the active element. So now we're flagging those as being revealed. If I go back in the browser, refresh, click here, not a match. Click here, not a match. We'll keep going here until I find one. There we go. So now if we inspect, we get in the DevTools data-revealed equal to true for those two tiles right there. So true and true. So now when I click on a tile, we can check if it is true or not. We can say const revealed, is this revealed? Elements.getAttribute, check for the data-revealed. Then we're going to say here, okay, if, and just extend upon this, if awaiting end of move or revealed is equal to true, then return and don't do anything. So now we're going to fix that bug that I showed you earlier where that existing or already revealed tile can be used in the next move. Now, there is one more issue with this game, and that is if I was to refresh again, click on a tile, click on it again, that is also a move, right? So if I was to click away, there's an issue, right? So it's matching on itself. To fix that, we can just say, okay, no worries, inside this, or element equal to the active tile. So if you are trying to click on the same tile twice, return out and cancel that move. Save this back in the browser and we are done with the memory game. I'm now going to attempt to play it and hopefully we see that alert message that says you won the game. So I'll try now. And we're done. You win, refresh to play again. So that is the memory game right there. Like I said earlier, the source code is going to be linked down below if you want to, of course, download it. And that is all for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed that one and you learned something. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, I will see you in the next video.